This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
All right, here we are. If it's Tuesday night, no matter where you are around the world, it has to be Live at 5, movie reviews and more. So we got to start off with this because we had a bunch of changes and everything, and it's been kind of fun. Last night, Terri and I, we did RA Nation, and that was fun to do that, wasn't it, Terri?
That was really fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was fun. It's good to be on somebody else's show.
I know, isn't it? That is true. That was kind of fun.
It's fun to be the guest, you know? So, yeah, I had a good time.
And whose show was that? None other than our own engineer, the one and only Roxy, with Ant-Man, her co-host. And that was actually fun. I was telling a couple people about it today, and I was telling Trixie, we got to get you on that show. So Roxy has another person lined up just in case. You know, now this young lady's been so busy, Trixie, that she's running around to another state all of a sudden pretty soon. But I've been happy because if she hasn't been barbecuing, and she hasn't been out there telling people what to do, and you know, I don't know what's happening with the possums or the raccoons or anything like that, but she has been busy doing everything. So here's the one and only, you know, award-winning, bronze, silver, host, producer, the one and only from Houston, Texas, Trixie Gynn. With custom trends, we gotta start with that because she's been busy. And yes, that is an alien over her right shoulder.
Yes,
because she likes that, and it's actually her backpack, just in case. No, you're not tripping; it's real.
Yeah.
And with that, so here's the other person. So red carpet host. She calls herself nonstop, and she kind of is when she's full stop. But right now, she's nonstop. But the whole thing is about this is that we have to say hi to the one and only Terri Marie.
Hi.
She has this. Hi.
I'm actually in Northern California right now. I'm in Grass Valley, and it's hotter than hell here. It's so weird, like how much hotter it is when I leave the beach area.
That's funny. And then so here's the thing.
It's 100 degrees.
Is it really? It must be because she's frozen up there all of a sudden.
I know.
Now she disappeared. So here's the whole thing about this. I like this man. I've been telling people about him for a while. It's a last minute thing. I was going to have John sometime in August. He doesn't know that. But it was one of those things where we had to switch with everything and you just go with it no matter what. So I love this. We're live around the world on Talk 4 TV, obviously, Talk 4 Media, K4HD Radio, K4HD Podcasting, Worldwide TV Network, Women on TV.tv, iTunes 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, and all the platforms around the world. This is special because I'll tell you why. I love when we were talking, it's got to be about 2.5 months ago now. And I didn't know who he was, but then I did know who he was. So without further ado, Grammy nominated, musician, singer, songwriter, producer. This song is interesting. I played it 3 times today. I love this new song. I'm still hooked on Hallelujah, how he did it. But the whole thing about this, it's all about that special day. So this is the special day with John, the one and only John Butcher. Hey, John, it's good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, man. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good to see you.
No, it's good to see you too, because I've been telling everybody what you really do. all the stuff that you do. Because here's the thing. We were gonna have April Rose on, and then something came up, and I'm like, well, let's get John. Is he available? And Eileen
Sure.
Shapiro said he's around. I'm like, let's have him then.
I was just standing around waiting for a bus.
Well, here's the whole thing. So Trixie does our flyers whenever she has them. So I'm like, I'm hoping she has time, and she was online. I'm like, can we get one of John real quick? And she did it I think within 5 minutes, because she creates our flyers and stuff like that. I'm like, I was like happy that she was available, and I was proud. So John, in case you don't know,
how are you doing tonight? How are you doing?
Trixie, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's been a wonderful day. I'm kind of caught up with all my work, so I'm just excited for the weekend.
Very good.
Things are going well.
I'm glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up here in Massachusetts, as you may know.
Okay.
And I live by the ocean, and you would think it would be a little bit cooler by the ocean, but it's not.
It's hot.
It's pretty warm here. We had a couple of cool days, but it's back to summer today.
Oh, wow.
And you had a show last night, right? Oh, no. Or was it? No, the end of May you had it.
I had a show a few nights ago, I guess about a week ago now. And it was my first one after, the COVID vacation. And I have to say, it's like riding a horse. Right. It only took me about 2 seconds to remember how to do it.
That makes sense. That really makes sense. Let me ask you this, because you were still locked down and you were doing the safe thing. We were talking about sustainability, which we'll talk about later, and environmentally friendly stuff where I feel we really connected on. Talk about that. So you went in, you did this show. What was that like in New Hampshire doing that?
Yeah, it was cool. I think everybody, in terms of ticket buyers and people that go to shows, a little bit nervous about how to adjust to the new reality of not wearing masks, and everyone's a little cautious. But that being said, it only took about 2 seconds for everyone that was there. I don't know how many thousand people were there to get into the swing of things again. And I have to tell you, it's really good to be back and doing that again. I was afraid that I'd forgotten how. Like, do I remember how to do this? Where's my hand go again? But it was a great show. I think everyone had a great time. And more than that, it was a kind of rite of passage with all of us coming back from COVID.
And that makes sense. So Trixie, you've been doing a lot of things, whether it's on the music side, whether it's on the sports side of things. And I can tell how happy she is doing these things. So on the music scene out of Houston, Texas, and then obviously, John, were you way up in New Hampshire? I think you're in Derby. Is that right?
Yeah.
Talk about the differences of what we've been seeing, because I haven't seen really anything in Los Angeles yet.
You mean in terms of perception?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all a little skittish. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I go into the market, right? And I'm not quite comfortable yet in getting in close proximity of people. And I think it's that way in LA. It's that way in Boston and wherever else you might be, New York City, wherever. People are just a little skittish. It's going to take a minute for everyone to feel comfortable again, like we used to. It's going to take a minute.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Trixie, you've been running around all over the place. You've just been happy. I mean, she's been cooking. I was working all the weekend, but she was cooking food. I'm like, I'd love to have some of that food. I was just locked down on my computer and not really going anyplace unless I went to the Grove.
Oh,
that's all I was doing.
I'll be right there.
Well, she puts up all these great photos of what she's cooking out there. I'm like, wow, this is really good.
I love the barbecue.
Nice.
Yeah, I love barbecue, and I'm a big foodie, and maybe one of these days I'm going to have a cooking show, so you never know. So sometimes when I post all these things of food, it's not just because I love food, but I like to share different recipes with other people online too. And so, just trying to learn new things, and never know.
All of us are kind of getting our sea legs back. After a long break that none of us wanted to take. And I think by the end of the summer, God willing, and there aren't any more variants of the COVID-19, that we'll all get our comfort back. We're not wearing masks, but we have to get our comfort zone back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back, Brian.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice you went any place in the first place, Terri.
My internet. You know, this is the problem. Like, you know, when you're traveling,
it's technology.
Well, yeah, it's technology. I heard you guys talking about getting back to normal. I can tell you, I was at LAX this morning, and you had never known that we had a pandemic. It was like there were so many people there. Then I got to go get my rent-a-car in Sacramento, and there was a line at the door at the rent-a-car place. So people are like over it. I mean, I forgot how LAX used to be, because, you know, I traveled a couple of times, you know, during the pandemic, but I mean, it was just like, I mean, it was weird because I got so used to no one being around.
Yeah.
That it was odd to me because there was lines everywhere, and you know, it was like, you know, it's like it's over. It was just weird.
Yeah. I think we all feel that way, Terri. We all, there's a comfort zone we have to get back. You know,
yeah.
I'm sure I speak for you too. I'm not completely 100% at ease. Not yet. I was happy to have that show, but it's a little skittish.
I mean, I didn't really try to live in fear. I mean, I you know, Brian knows did everything I could to be, you know, to be careful and protect myself, but I just kind of just tried not to live in fear. But what was weird to me today was it's just like, it ended. They opened up. I mean, LAX was like how LAX was before.
Yeah.
COVID, like, and LAX is a nightmare. I mean, I hate that. It's just the worst airport to fly out of.
It really is.
It's just so disorganized. It just like, I don't know. It was a culture shock. That's all I have to say. And then, you know, we got on the bus to go over to get the rent-a-cars. They just sardined everybody in. I didn't like that at all, though.
Exactly.
They're sardining people in that close together. I mean, literally, I was like this on the bus to get from the, you know, if you fly into Sacramento, you got to take a bus to the rent-a-car thing. And that was the only thing that kind of like, I was not happy about that at all. But
I bet you a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people aren't happy with that. Houston, Fort Worth is another airport you want to stay away from if you can.
And Trixie's laughing.
I was even there during the pandemic. Even during the pandemic, I traveled like five different times during the pandemic, and just to get away to Vegas. And I liked that there was no lines, and I had the restaurant to myself. To me, that was wonderful. Yeah. You know, so now it's different because now you have to wait, and you're annoyed now. Now it's like, oh, I gotta wait, but then it's good too because people need to get back to work, and you know.
Well, I got to say this real quick. So we have to say hi to Teresa Sabin from marketing. Sabin Marketing Promotions, because I like her. James Bovia and Linda Steele will be back next week. And then the other thing about this, James, you got to go back and tell everybody how you started. How you started as a musician is fascinating to me. I had no idea that you grew up in Alaska. Yeah, and you were that one person of color. Talk about your background. It's fascinating to me still to this day.
My parents worked for RCA, the government arm of RCA, back in the 60s. And so I grew up in Alaska, where there was an Air Force base, which they weren't in the military, but they worked for the government in computers. So that's why I was there, and that's why I grew up there. And I'm glad I did, because what growing up in a very, very remote place did for me is, I think, allow me to turn my creative energy inward and kind of figure myself out. A lot of times when kids grow up, it's confusing because you're in sensory overload, right? You have peer group pressure and a lot of social pressure. Dude, I didn't have any of that. I went to a school called Browns Court Trailer Park, and there were 3 people in my grade and 3 people in the grade under me and 3 people in the grade over me. We were all in one room. And, wow. and the village that I lived in was maybe 80 people total, and then surrounded by nothing except for wilderness. So that allowed me to not be socially impacted. Say if I grew up in Philadelphia or a large city where there was a lot of turmoil in the early 70s. You know, I kind of missed that and got dropped into it later. That's a whole other story. But it allowed me, I think, to figure out that the guitar was important to me and music was important to me. And I didn't have any of the other distraction that maybe other kids did.
Talk about that aspect of just, again, when you end up in Boston and then the early MTV era. That's also interesting. And again, being that person of color, you got to throw that in there also, right?
You know what? When I first moved back to the East Coast after living in Alaska, I was scared because it's the first time I'd heard the N-word. It was the first time that I sort of, you know, came in close proximity to prejudice. And jumping from there, I'm going to make a big jump to MTV. I had a hard time, me and Michael Jackson being the only people of color who were on MTV at the same time, because there was a opinion that a black guy couldn't play rock music. Now, all the fans that I had didn't know from that, right? Like they weren't paying attention to record executives. So it was tough at the beginning, but I don't know. I don't want to complain. I've been really lucky. I've been really lucky to have worked with such talented people around the world, and to have made my mark in the music business makes me very happy. So I can't complain too much. I really can't.
So Teresa wants to know, what year were you talking about?
All right. I guess thinking about it, I graduated high school in 75. So when I moved back to the East Coast from Alaska, my parents are from the East Coast. And when the family came back east, I was in my second year of high school, so junior. And it took me a whole year to figure out what the hell was going on. You know, getting on a school bus and running into a bigot on the school bus. You know, I had no idea what was going on. You know, I heard the N-word and I looked around to see who he was talking about. And so it was like that. But I want to make it sound like I feel bad for myself, because all of those things contribute to who you become, right? They all contribute to who you become. And I'm happy with the man I've become. And I feel lucky that I've had as much success in music as I've had. So I'm not really complaining. It's just my story.
So John, talk about this aspect of things when it's 85, 86.
Yeah.
Where are you going back into time on that for those people who may not know your history? Where are you in those years? What are you doing with that guitar at that point?
Yeah, I was in a band called John Butcher Axis. And we made a few records for Polygram and Capitol. And at that time, I was touring around the world with Def Leppard and the Jay Giles Band and, oh man, the Scorpions and on and on and on, a lot of bands. And so I was living my rock and roll fantasy at that time. You know, I was in a trio. My band was a trio where I was the guitar player and singer. And so, you know, in some ways it was liberating, man, because I felt like it was all new for me. It was all fresh water, you know, for me to drink. And I felt honored to be in that position. Plus, I had such success at local radio, WBCN in Boston, really got behind my early music. So in those years you're talking about, I was making records and touring.
You know, so Trixie, I think about this. Mm-hmm. Did you know of John's background? Had you heard of him or anything like that? And same question goes to Terri.
No, not at all. And I'll, you know, since you sent me the email and I just quickly, you know, I wasn't able to Google and you know, search on his music and stuff because I was doing other things on work. But yeah, anything with music I already knew. And then when when you had put that he's jazz and blues. I wanted to know more about that. And what was your wildest moment back then? You know, any groupies? What kind of craziness happened back then? Give us a story.
Trixie, I'm a married man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Hey,
I was going to say, what's your wildest moment? I got to know.
This is how I answer that. I had as many wild moments as you might expect, but maybe not as many as you think. When I was touring, I lived a very, very boring life, meaning I finished the show, I towel off, maybe get something to eat, and go to my room and read and get ready for the next night. So my bandmates are out going, yee-haw, and partying and all that stuff. And that just wasn't me. I was up at I would be up running the next day after a gig, at 7 o'clock in the morning, going by my bass players when they're going, hey, come on, you want to go out? And they're going, so that wasn't really, the wild rock and roll stuff and throwing TVs in swimming pools. I never did it much.
Yeah. You know what?
Well, that's good to know. I thought I'd try to ask and see if I could get something. Yeah. Thought I'd see if I could get one story or something crazy.
I'm a married man.
I thought it was a great. I thought it was a great question, Trixie.
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, let me give you a normal question.
Sure.
Did you make any new music while being in COVID? Were you practicing daily or?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. I actually did. I decided that while we were on lockdown and I couldn't travel and couldn't do what I normally did, I put all my energy into making a new record called Special Day.
Oh.
And I'm really happy with it. I'm proud of it. It came out about 2 weeks ago, and I did that. And I also formed a film company called Watercolors Movies. So I did all of that in the 13 months where I wasn't able to travel. And I have to tell you, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Not to mention that my wife and I grew a garden of vegetables, and we got 2 new kitties. And I felt like I reconnected with my life in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And the good thing about that also that you actually had a great year last year because it brought you and your wife closer. And I was happy to hear that. And I'm telling people, I only know 31 people last year that had a good year. That's just pathetic when you think of all the people that we all know.
With as horrible as the virus is and was, and how many people suffered, a lot of people turned inside their house and improved it or did something with themselves that was positive. And that's what we did. We like I told you, we grew a garden and we spent some time in home repair, and I'm recording in my studio every day. And so I turned that time into something really positive, and I'm glad I did.
So Terri, I know you had a question before when Trixie and I were jumping all over you. So what was it?
When you're jumping over about what? You guys are always jumping on me. What's new? No, so my question is totally different, and I know that I got thrown out, so maybe I missed this. But I'm just curious about your childhood growing up in Alaska, because I think that would be fascinating. I'm just a nature person, so I'm just wondering, did you grow up hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff, or when you think of Alaska? I don't know. I fished and hunted with my father in California, believe it or not. But it just Alaska is just so beautiful, and that's somewhere I really want to go to. But I just was curious of what was it like to grow up there, and then you kind of said a little bit about the culture shock of moving here.
I didn't really hunt. Mm-hmm. But I did fish and hike. I lived about 400 miles from the base of Mount McKinley, in Mount McKinley Park. And the mountain is huge. So when I was a kid, me and my friend Ronnie Murphy would decide to walk to it, not realizing it's kind of impossible to walk 500 miles. I spent time riding horses and I really appreciate growing up in the woods. and away from city. I didn't know I appreciated it at the time. You know, I didn't know, but I found out that I did once I moved away.
You know, and that makes sense of why you started your garden and everything like that when we were talking about sustainability, environmentally friendly, and then, you know, go into the movie aspect of things, because you did a lot of great things. And I think you did a lot of great things underneath the radar.
I was starting to tell you I formed a company called Watercolors Movies. And what Watercolors is a small film company. All artists or painters or musicians realize now that if you're not being seen on video, you kind of don't exist. It used to be back in the day, to promote a record, you didn't necessarily need an MTV video. It helped, but you could do it through radio. Well, that's different now. With the internet, you kind of have to be online and seen. And so Watercolors Movies, I started for artists and painters and musicians to get the word out in like 1 minute movies, mini movies, or 2 minute mini movies that allowed them to get their message out without going bankrupt, frankly.
Talk about what do you see on the social media side of things now? What are you looking at? And it makes sense, you know, that you weren't partying that hard. You did your share. We all did our share things, right, Terry? But it was one of those things that you really were in the nature part of stuff. I'm here now in that aspect of things. I've done a lot of things that I wanted to do. Now it's about, I see how the climate is changing. I see when my friends are calling me from Greece and it's 100 degrees and
absolutely true.
It's 100 degrees in Calgary, which makes absolutely no sense. No. And then nobody's got air conditioning because it never gets that hot. But that's only the start of stuff. This is where you and I were connecting before when we last spoke.
Absolutely true. Look, sustainability is the only thing that matters now. Anybody with two eyes can see that the planet is being stressed. Now, speaking for myself, I'd like to hang on to Earth a little while longer. And so it matters what we do. It matters how we eat. And it matters where we put our energies. My movie company is about sustainability in that we try to keep a consistent message about positive Earth, plus Earth. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man. I can't think of any other way to live at this point. You know, I'm not I don't live in excess. I live a very grounded life. And I like that. I live with animals and plants and the ocean nearby, and that makes me happy. And so my message is about sustainability, because this is the only Earth we have. It'd be nice to hang on to it for a little while longer.
Trixie, give John an idea of what you do and everything. And then obviously you have your animals too. How are they doing?
Yeah. They're doing good. They're doing good. I actually have a few feral cats and a raccoon, a possum that come by every night. And right now I'm working on customtrends.tv. Now that the pandemic's kind of slowed down a bit, I can get out and cover events. And
that's wonderful.
I'm getting back out there and collecting all these episodes and footage. And also with the pandemic, I've always wanted to do a sporting show. And I took the time during the pandemic to put it all together and kind of think about what I was going to do, you know, and all my plan worked. So, you know, and the pilot, you know, it's loved, and it's a good concept of interviewing. Yeah, I'm interviewing. It's being proficient. It's called Being Proficient, and interviewing race car drivers that are professional race car drivers. And I'm also getting involved with the MMA, the UFC fighters. We have a lot here.
Wow.
Huh. We have a lot here in Houston, so we have quite a few gyms, and they're fighting out of Houston. So I don't need to travel too far. I could just go to their gym and interview the guys. And so that's the next. And also want to get involved with the women in sports. So we have a roller derby, and I think that's very extreme. You know, being on roller skates and, you know, knocking each other down. So I definitely want to get back to interviewing them ladies. They have a few teams here in Houston. And so those are the three categories I kind of wanted to do for this season. Yes. And if things go well, we do a second season and we can go to more extreme sports. So yeah, it's going good. And I like it because they're things that I like to do. I've always said I'm going to do something. I'm going to cover things that I like.
Lovely.
You know,
I love it.
yeah. That's
and John, those shiny objects to her left are her awards. In case you were wondering what they were.
Oh my!
The bronze and silver.
There's the silver.
That she got.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, this one was from the 2020 Super Bowl in Miami. So that was last year. So I got that May 26th of 2020. So that was the last event I actually got to do because of the COVID. So yeah, that was it. But where I shall return and hopefully next year can compete in different other award shows and stuff. So we'll just see how things go, and I'm optimistic, and I'm ready to go travel internationally as well. So we have Sportail coming up in October for the sports awards. So
are you nervous about traveling internationally? Are you nervous about that?
At first I was, but then I was going to do the Cannes Film Festival because it's going on. Actually, I think it starts tomorrow. Yeah. But a lot of my friends here in LA that are in films and in productions, they're not going. And so I usually have a great time with them because we all meet up. And they said they weren't going, and a lot of my friends. So I decided to hold off another year, not go this year. And hopefully things will look better. And the comfort too, like you mentioned, I don't know, and I haven't got vaccinated, I'll be honest. And so I just didn't know, especially I didn't think there would be so many people there to, we'll see. I'm just kind of going to see how many people attend this year. And then that'll pretty much, I'll see if it went well, then in October, I'm going to have to make that move and go travel out to Monaco, Monte Carlo in October. And, if there's a lot of people, if
we all have to reclaim our comfort zone. We got to reclaim our comfort zone.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the pictures and look at the videos online from the Cannes Film Festival and just see how it was. And try to, because, then you're definitely going to meet a bunch of people from all over the world. So I think I might have to get vaccinated for that, because I don't know about rubbing shoulders with people from everywhere. Yeah.
Maybe a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Terri, tell John who you are, what you do, and talk about why food is important for you, especially not processed food.
Oh, well, I'm a fitness competitor. I compete in NPC. I'm training right now to do a show either at the end of, probably end of August, September time. So yeah, I eat pretty healthy, as Brian knows, because of my training. Sure. And then I co-host with Brian. I do the red carpet interviews. And what else do I do, Brian? Oh, I'm involved with Sportamix, with Gynn, with Celebrity Connected. And currently right now I am in Sacramento. I wanted to get out of LA, so I'm kind of in the woods right now. And it's kind of nice. I mean, I like coming up here. It's just peaceful up here. So, nice. I mean, I'm actually in Grass Valley, which is, I'm basically in the woods for the rest of the week.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, John, you'll like this also. So the property that we chose is in Mariposa. So it's 25 minutes away from Yosemite National Park. That's where the Dreamweaver Artist Ranch will be.
That's wonderful.
And you know what it's like when you can have it there and have that peace and serenity and everything like that. And obviously the 10 acres that we have to grow the food on, no fire, no fracking, never been contaminated, which is very, very important. And Terri understands that too. And Trixie does too, because she's always barbecuing and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So
old Texas gal, we're always grilling out here.
Hey, talk about that barbecue sauce, because is that one of your newfound friends too?
Uh-oh.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is from Mr. John Hale. He's a 2-time world champion for Funny Car Chaos. Got to meet him in Ennis, Texas, in March, and he's just a wonderful guy. I'm actually going to be at his place in Dallas this Friday. I'm going to stop by at his hangar, his airport, and it's where we're all meeting up, and then we're driving out to Wichita, Kansas for the 58th annual Summer Nationals. So it's an event where all the top national race car drivers come together and they have their summer nationals. So it's just those really extreme fast cars, and they're really pretty to look at, and their flames come out, and it's just a really, really fun event. And I'm excited for it because everyone is super nice. All the race car drivers and their tour buses and their race car trailers, and you would think, oh my gosh, look at all this, and it's so expensive, and it's so fast and it's so loud, but they're the nicest people. They really are. And Mr. John Hill, he has his barbecue sauce, Best of Texas, and it's just amazing. And he'll have it out there as well too. They also have booths set up and different things to sell there at the events and stuff. It's a really good family event. It is so fun. I love covering that.
John, notice she's driving, not flying.
I'm driving. I'm gonna drive 8 hours.
Holy cow.
Yeah, 8-hour drive, and I'm gonna do it.
Do you mind
out of state.
do you mind driving long distances? Do you mind driving?
No. Oh no, not at all. I've driven to McAllen and to South Padre Island several times, and that's like 7 hours. So I did that since I was a kid. So to me, 8 hours, 1 extra hour, it's okay. But it's the first time to drive out of state. I've never driven out of state, but I'm ready, and my car's all ready, and I'm not scared or nothing like that.
Cool.
Hey, John, you got a concert coming up. Is it July 24th?
July
Talk
24th.
about that.
Yeah, in New England. We're doing all of our warm-up shows for touring here in the New England states. So I'm playing a place called the Center for the Arts in Natick, Massachusetts, on July 24th with my band, the John Butcher Axis, and I'm really excited about it. We're really looking forward to making a connection with our fans again, and I hope I remember how to play guitar.
Well, talk about being up there on stage. The first time you went back on stage, what was that like before you went on stage? Were you nervous? What was the feeling like for you?
Nervous? No, not me. Yeah, I was nervous. I have amongst guitar players, I'll say, I have a reputation for a certain standard, and I get scared that I wouldn't be able to meet it. Now, it was all for naught, of course. Everything went fine, but yeah, I don't remember the last time I took a year and 2 months off, and that's what happened. I took a year and 2 months. I played guitar and I made the record, but it's not like performing live. It's a whole different dynamic and a whole different physical discipline. So by the time I'm done with 90 minutes, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm blown out. And so I was nervous, but it all worked out.
Talk about what's the new protocols that when it comes to touring and safety and things like that, from the truck drivers to just going from city to city. What's new?
Yeah, you will see a lot of truck drivers are still masked. I think that's because some of them aren't vaccinated and now they're scared. I see a lot of food handling, like for instance backstage at the green room. People are more cautious and not quite as willing to get in close proximity as we were before. After a show, I'm used to shaking hands and signing CDs and all that sort of thing, and that didn't happen at my first show back, and it probably won't happen July 24th either. We're all a little slow getting our comfort zone back.
Well, John. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, John, I have a question. You've been playing guitar for quite some time now, and throughout the years, have you had any hand problems or anything that, any therapy that you needed to do?
Wow, it's funny you should mention that. This was the first year I felt a little tightness in my hands, like a little bit like carpal tunnel, but not really. And I talked to my doctor about it, and what I'm doing now is believe it or not, exercising my hand and using a warm water therapy. If I immerse my hands in hot water or warm water, it really is helpful to making sure that my ligaments and my hand muscles are limber. But this is the first time I've encountered that. I can't believe you brought it up. I'm thinking about it, but I'm sorting it out. I'm working it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just thought I'd ask because, I've always heard throughout many years when you're playing an instrument. I was in the band back in high school and junior high and played music a while. And of course I didn't have any hard problems then, but I've spoke to many musicians now, and I know some that have gotten surgery on their arms and they've had carpal tunnel, and
you're so right. It happens as you get older. Unfortunately, we don't get to stay 25 forever. And so you have to do things to keep your body moving and limber. My wife and I go for walks every day and try to keep the physical exercise at the center of our lives because it's important to do it.
And have you had to change your image throughout the years of being in the music industry? Did you feel that you needed to, or did you always stay the same?
I'm not sure I ever had an image. I kind of just look like this. You
didn't have shorter hair or longer hair.
Okay. This is kind of the way I look. So over the years, my hair has been longer, than it is now, but that's not really an image. I think this is my image. God help me.
Talk about when you were growing up. You had this iconic sound. Do people still think you sound like so and so when you hear these things? Because
you mean Jimi Hendrix?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Not really, Brian. That happened at the beginning of my career, because I'm a man of color. There were comparisons, but it was lazy. A lot of rock journalists would just go there because it was easy and they didn't have to think. And I don't think I was ever really a Jimi Hendrix impersonator or a clone. I kind of was doing my own thing. So that doesn't happen at all anymore. I mean, after, a couple of decades of making records and creating your own fan base, the Jimi Hendrix comparisons don't really happen.
Let me ask you this now. I hate to say it, we're in the age of social media. How would someone starting off now, what advice do you give them? And I know you don't like to say that per se. What advice would you give them? But they're starting off in the social media world, putting stuff up, but not always knowing what to do. Think about that. And then what was it like when you signed your first contract? Because how are contracts these days?
Well, like I had mentioned before, I was lucky. I came from playing local shows and selling out and getting on the local radio station and getting call-ins. Now, none of that, that dynamic doesn't exist anymore. There are some places to play for local bands, but they're few and far between. So I'm not sure I have advice other than to try and find your own thing and stick with it, even when everyone around you says no. That's been my experience. I've always done well if I listened to my inner voice, and I've always made mistakes when I didn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about, you remember when you signed your first contract? What was that like? And what do you say to these people wanting to sign a contract but don't know or don't have anybody to go through, especially if they live in the Midwest or down in South?
Yeah, I'm going to share a story with you, and then I have to jump. It looks like my computer is running out of power. I signed my first record contract at Polygram on the same day that John Bon Jovi signed his. So I'm walking into the offices in New York City of Polygram, and this kid passes me, with blonde hair and pink pants or something. I can't remember. And I went, geez, that guy will never get anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
So John Bon Jovi, right?
Wow.
I'm not so sure I'm in the advice giving business. What I will say is this: that signing my first deal to a major record label was exciting beyond words. And what I would tell any young musician now is to find out what your thing is. I found my thing at an early age, what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, how I wanted to sound and what I wanted to play like. I had that all figured out by 16 years old. And if you can do that, if you can find your own voice and stick with your own voice, people will find you.
See that, Terry? There's hope for you.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Brian.
Oh,
we
boy.
had this conversation yesterday about, didn't we, Brian, about, just following your dreams and don't listen to the negative energy and listen to your inner voice, because people are going to always tell you no, and you have to believe in yourself, because there's going to be a million no's, but somebody's going to tell you yes, and you just have to keep plugging forward. And that's exactly
right. I couldn't have said it any better, Terri. They will always be no. There will always be someone saying no, or someone saying, what are you going to wear that? Or what are you going to do? Sing that? And I stopped listening. I got a healthy dose of self-confidence from my mom, and I am thankful for that, because it's carried me through rough times.
So, John, we got about 2 minutes. Hopefully, your computer will last another 2 minutes.
So.
Who knows? So, where are you going from here? After you got July 24th coming up, what's after that? Or is it take it in as it goes, because we just don't know?
Now, I haven't booked tour dates yet around the country, because it's like I said, we're in the process of getting back, all of us, and so doing warm-up dates here in the New England area where I live make a lot of sense for me, and so I'm going to be probably doing that for the rest of the summer, and I'm also producing another artist who lives around this area, a singer-songwriter named Alan Estes. And I'm happy to continue being a homebody when I'm not playing, and growing some carrots.
Yay.
I like that.
I love cats. Got to pause.
Yeah.
All right, John, give your social media links real quick.
Okay. I can be found at johnbutcher.com. My new record is called Special Day, and you can find it at iTunes or Spotify or wherever great music is found. And I can be found at Facebook. Visit me at my Facebook page, and we'll have a talk about guitars and kitties and growing vegetables.
Yes.
Awesome. Heck yeah.
I'm going to be reaching out to you. And then when you do set up something in the Los Angeles, please let us know, because we'll come.
I will do that. I promise.
So with that, Trixie, give you social media links. Go ahead.
Customtrends.tv, and be sure to check out my new YouTube channel, Being Proficient. I just started that this weekend. There's going to be so many awesome videos coming this weekend at Wichita, Kansas 58th Annual Nationals. And be sure to tune in to customtrends.tv.
I love that. She's got that down.
Excellent.
All right, Terri, go ahead.
My website is Terri Marie Official, and my social media is Terri Marie Nonstop on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
So, John Butcher, it's good seeing you again. This will not be the last time, as you know.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's good to meet you guys. Terri, Trixie, it's nice to see you.
Thank you. Yes.
So, and the whole thing, before I go, I was telling John that you have to meet the rest of the team. So you've met 2 out of the 11.
I love it.
All right.
There's more to come. So with that, as I always leave everybody, I always say this, because it's very, very important. If you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week. Thanks, John.
Take care. Bye, guys.
Thank you.